The story begins with Ash Blake and a girl lying unconscious in the forest injured, with Ash having his left arm missing. A beautiful dragon appears in a human form and heals him, restoring his arm, which now has markings on it. In the present day, Ash wakes up as a freshman senior at the Anne Sullivan Dragonar Academy. However, he's known as the problem child, and other students constantly bully him because he doesn't have his pal, a dragon born from the life force of its master. Ash has a quick temper and often lashes out at his bullies, but his classmates Raymond and Max stop him from getting into the fight. During class, the teacher explains how each student has a star brand and it connects them to the astral flow, a dimension where all pals reside. Only those connected to their pal through a star brand can ride them. After class, Raymond is curious about why Ash is the only one who can ride other pals. Ash tells him that he doesn't know it either. While walking in the corridor, they come across the school president, Rebecca Randall, to whom Raymond finds himself attracted. Raymond gives his pal, Bridget, to Ash for dragonar battle training. On the training ground, the fourth princess of the kingdom, Sylvia Lautremont, also known as the Icicle Blood Princess, uses her power to defeat her opponents with her pal, Lancelot. Meanwhile, Ash uses his strategy and quick thinking to win battles. Ash starts to enjoy the thrill of battle, but he runs into Lancelot, knocking both of them down. Sylvia lashes out at Ash for not using his own pal, and challenges him to win the Aries Dragonar Festival, an important race held every year at the Academy. Ash accepts the challenge and tells her that she'll apologize when she loses. While sleeping, Ash dreams of a naked woman examining his body. She tells him that the Navi is about to be born and that she needs to examine his body thoroughly to entrust the Navi to him. The next day, it's time for the Aries Festival, and the Student Council President, Rebecca, announces that the winner will have their name published in public records and will get a date with her. Raymond literally jumps out of his seat and asks Ash to give his pal back. The race begins and all competitors are eager to win. Ash notices that Sylvia isn't in the lead and sees that 3 bullies are blocking her way. Ash helps her clear the way and she flies off, leaving Ash behind. He feels bad for Bridget as he can't keep up with Maestro Lancelot and stops running. Suddenly, Ash hears a sound in the distance and finds a mysterious man and a young girl. The man tells him that it's rare to see a 16-year-old boy with an immature pal. Ash notices a mechanical weapon on his waist and figures that they are Imperial spies. The young girl attacks Ash, and while running after him, she accidentally falls from the edge of a mountain. Ash saves her in time, but in doing so falls from the mountain's edge himself. In a life-threatening situation, Ash's pal awakens and transforms into a young girl, leaving him confused. Ash loses the race, but despite the defeat, he has made a drastic improvement in his abilities. He now has a pal by his side, but she has an attitude and claims to be Ash's master. After a long day, he takes her to his room for a good night's sleep. But things take a turn for the worse when she slips into his bed. Not too bad for Ash. The next day, Rebecca and Max arrive at Ash's room and are shocked to see the hickeys on his body. Rebecca then hands her clothes to Ash and tells him that the girl will live with him for the time being and the school authorities will cover all expenses. Ash takes her out to eat. But things get awkward when she suddenly gets erotic and leans in to kiss him. Sylvia and her servant Cosette witness this scene and accuse Ash for being shameless in public. Cosette reveals that Sylvia was actually looking for Ash to apologize. Sylvia then apologizes to Ash for the things she said during their training, leaving him speechless since he never thought the Icicle Princess had a soft side. After she leaves, Ash notices a mysterious entity watching him. After a long day of shopping, Ash and his pal take a seat by the fountain, where he decides to name her Akko after the first pal known to mankind. Ash takes Akko to the restroom and later finds out that she has been kidnapped. Ash thinks that this must be a mysterious entity that had been following them. Sylvia tells Ash to use the astral flow to locate Akko. They all rush to Akko's location and find a rundown lab. Ash hears Akko screaming and rushes in, only to find that the kidnapper was none other than Dr. Angela Cornwell. Dr. Cornwell was excited to see a dragon taking human form and decided to dissect Akko. Ash was furious upon hearing this, but unfortunately, a barrier laid by Dr. Cornwell prevents Sylvia from summoning Lancelot, leaving them all helpless. Dr. Cornwell activates a spell that puts everyone to sleep. Ash tries to resist the effects of the spell, but eventually fails. Akko then screams at Ash, telling him to wake up, and in a dangerous situation, Akko's power awakens, and she transfers her magical abilities to Ash using the astral flow. This allowed Ash to defeat Dr. Cornwell just by waving his hand. The next day, Ash gets an invitation from Rebecca, the student council president, to meet with her. While Sylvia explains to Lancelot why she became a dragonar, she hears a commotion outside caused by a dragon on the loose. Sylvia rushes out to control the rampaging dragon, and Ash heads to the council office. In the office, Rebecca reveals that the Imperial Zephyros Kingdom considers Anne Sullivan Dragonar Academy as a military school and is sending spies to keep a watchful eye on it. She asks Ash to join the council and help her with this matter. As the level 2 threat alarm sounds, Ash discovers that Sylvia is trying to control a rampaging dragon and is confused about her actions. Rebecca admits that Sylvia is a perfectionist and considers Ash as her rival. She shows him her arch form and defeats the dragon, saving Sylvia. Afterward, outside, Anya is constantly keeping an eye on Ash and Echo. Rebecca and Sylvia take Ash and Echo to the inn for some quality time, but their plans change when Milgoz, the same mysterious man Ash encountered at the festival, summons an evil dragon in the middle of town. Echo is captured by the dragon, and Rebecca uses her arch mode to try and save her. Rebecca summons her spear to attack the dragon and destroys its head. However, the dragon has powerful regenerative abilities and quickly regenerates its head. Meanwhile, Echo is eaten by the dragon. Ash realizes that the only way to save her is to ride Lancelot. Inside the dragon's belly, Echo is transported to a place known as the High Dragon Workshop, where she meets a woman from Ash's dreams. The woman explains that the High Dragon Workshop is a shared place for all dragons to create the perfect arch armor for their masters. She further explains that the dragon is known as Necromancia, a dead dragon brought to life with artificial means, and without the arch, Ash will die. She gives Echo Ash's body measurements that she obtained after entering his dreams every night. Echo was more worried about how the women got Ash's measurements than his life. After seeing Ash desperately trying to save her, Echo creates an arch armor perfect for Ash. The dragon attacks Ash at point-blank range, but Echo manages to save him by giving him her arch. She explains that it's not an original, as she made it from different sketches in the High Dragon Workshop. Ash jumps on Necromancia and rides it, seeing the dragon's memories. The dragon asks Ash to end its misery, and he uses his divine sword to do so. Sylvia recalls her past, where she was injured and alone in the forest. She was helped by an unknown boy who carried her to the Mother Dragon, where she received Lancelot. In the present day, Rebecca introduces 3 new members of the council to the academy. Sylvia is appointed as the public morals officer, Ash Blake as the general affairs officer, and Echo. Elsewhere on the battlefield, the iron-bloody Valkyria fights mercenaries with weapons from the Imperial country. Rebecca calls for a meeting among all the members. Rebecca reveals that the main topic of the meeting is the arrival of Veronica Lautremont, the first princess. She is here to investigate the matter of the Necromancia. After hearing this news, Sylvia starts to tremble as she knows her sister to be a ruthless tyrant. In the local market, Anya disguises herself as a merchant in hopes of finding Ash. On the other hand, Ash is worried about Sylvia's condition after hearing of her sister's arrival. Sylvia's maid Cosette tells everyone that Veronica was rejected as a breeder but rebelled against this decision. She improved her sword skills and physical strength and earned the name Iron Blood Valkyria. She used to put Sylvia through intense and dangerous drills. This made her the symbol of terror in Sylvia's mind. After hearing this, Ash goes to comfort Sylvia, but she lashes out at the thought that Ash is showing pity towards her. Princess Veronica Lautremont arrives in her magic ship, Sylvanus. Rebecca reveals that she did not force Sylva to come, but she came on her own. Veronica's sword is drawn as she confronts her sister. She knows that Sylvia is not who she claims to be, disguised as Sylvia. Cosette thought she could fool Veronica, but her attempt failed. Cosette sheds her disguise and reveals herself. As the tension rises, Sylvia arrives, trembling in fear as she addresses her older sister, but out of nowhere, Veronica uses her sword to rip Sylvia's clothes apart, leaving Ash enraged. The royal knight Glenn steps in to calm him down. Veronica decides to have a private meeting with Ash and orders her servant Prim to make sure he is dressed appropriately for the occasion. After a shopping trip, Ash finds a copy of the famous book, The Heavenly Dragonar, and is intrigued by the Silver Knight who resembles his arch armor. Ash is taken to the magic ship's bath where he finds Princess Veronica, Rebecca, Echo, and Sylvia. Veronica reveals that she has revived a marriage proposal for Sylvia from Glenn, her royal knight. She believes that Sylvia can bear a child for their family, since the future of the family is uncertain after their older brother Julius was executed for dragon slaying. However, Sylvia dreams of becoming an arch-dragonar and refuses the thought of marriage. Ash speaks up on Sylvia's behalf and tells Veronica how she helped him in defeating Necromancia. Veronica taunts Sylvia and tells her that she will always be a carrier for others. She challenges Sylvia to a match in her honor, and Sylvia accepts. But during the battle with Rebecca, Sylvia is defeated and falls unconscious. Ash carries her back to her room, where she confesses her incompetence and unworthiness to be Lancelot's master. Rebecca and Glenn interrupt their conversation. Glenn then conveys Princess Veronica's orders that Sylvia must repent and will not be allowed to take part in her royal tour. Sylvia orders Glenn to reveal the truth about his marriage proposal, and he admits that he is abiding by the princess's orders. Ash confronts Glenn, calling him a cold-hearted puppet, but Glenn tells him to remember his place. Ash is frustrated, but Sylvia tells him that Glenn was once a kind-hearted person, but he changed after her brother Julius was executed in front of him. Meanwhile, the student council escorts Princess Veronica on her royal tour, where she is greeted by the local citizens. But back in the presence of saints, the chapel is suddenly attacked by Avdotia, an assassin hell-bent on killing Veronica. Veronica, always ready to handle any crisis, commands her men and the student council to head into Sylvanus upon receiving a report on the situation. She receives a broadcast from Avdotia, who is holding Jessica Valentine hostage. Avdotia demands that Veronica surrender herself, threatening to kill a hostage every hour until her demand is met. Veronica and her team develop a strategy to counter the situation while Sylvia and Anya are present in the chapel. Amidst the chaos, Rebecca calms everyone down in Sylvanus and presents a plan to send Ash as a negotiator to buy time, and the rest of the arch-dragonars will infiltrate the chapel from below and bring the situation to an end. Ash hesitantly enters the chapel to negotiate with Avdotia, who reveals that she is there to find her long-lost sister. However, negotiations soon prove to be futile, and Ash realizes that the only way to resolve the situation is through force. Echo is busy in the High Dragon workshop building a new arch armor that can defeat a mechanical bomb, while Navi suggests using Echo's original arch and letting Ash ride her real form. Echo, however, refuses the idea. Meanwhile, Avdotia tries to kill a crying baby and its mother, but Sylvia reveals her name and stands strong, revealing her determination to become the mightiest of royal paladin. After reinforcements arrive, Ash uses his arch mode to freeze the bomb along with Avdotia and her pal, inspired by a fantasy novel. The next day, Veronica summons Ash, and he is shocked to see Avdotia standing beside her. Ash learns that the whole scheme was set up by Veronica to teach Sylvia a lesson. Finally, after a long day, Veronica leaves the Anne Sullivan Dragonar Academy. While Echo lies in her bed, she finds herself running from a dark entity that calls her the daughter of Avalon. The creature consumes her, and she wakes up, gasping for air in the middle of the night, trembling in fear. She wets the bed, and in the morning, Ash believes that Echo produced a monocrystal but finds a wet bed instead. He laughs, earning another swift punch to the face. Later that day, Raymond informs Ash that it was time for the training camp. However, only the royals like the Lautréamont family are allowed to attend. As they attend the ceremony where all the candidates are selected, they discover that Luca Sarlinen was absent, and the crowd was upset after hearing that she is selected. Raymond reveals that Luca hasn't shown up for class in the last 3 months, but she's a genius who has broken Rebecca's record as the youngest Dragonar in the academy and is the secretary of the student council. Ash is surprised that he has never seen her in the student council office. Rebecca, the head of the candidate selection committee, announces that she is giving a special invitation to Ash Blake to join the training camp. Later in the student council office, Rebecca explains to Ash that she has created a new category for him to join the training camp because he was a special talent, not just because of Echo, but also because of how he had eliminated a Necromancia and handled Avdotia in the chapel. While they were in the student council office, Max rushes in, reporting a fire nearby. But when they arrive at the girls' dorm, they see Luca sleeping in a coffin. Rebecca introduces Luca to everyone, explaining that she's a fairy of the forest with a talent for herbs. Luca is an Ecladian, a warrior race with some legendary dragons among them, and had broken Rebecca's record as the youngest Dragonar in the academy. However, Rebecca questions Luca about her pal Gawain, who is refusing to let Luca ride him. That night, Ash returns to his dorms to find Echo crying. She tells him that she had a nightmare and met a Necromancia that tried to eat her. The next day, Ash sees Luca running off in tears after failing to communicate with her pal. He goes to Rebecca to figure out the situation and convinces Luca to let him ride Gawain. However, when Ash approaches Gawain, he attacks him instead of answering his questions. Ash's attempt to communicate with Gawain has been unsuccessful. However, during a discussion at a coffee shop, Ash requests to meet with Luca once more. When he goes to her dorm with Echo, he finds Luca in a depressed state. He tells her about the training camp location, which is near the Knob Woods, known for its ability to restore the health of a dragon. After hearing this, Luca agrees to go to the camp with the rest of them. Anya meets with Master Milgaluz and reveals that she has infiltrated the academy to investigate Ash and Echo. She also informs him that she will be part of the kitchen staff at the training camp. Milgaluz recalls that there is a mausoleum at the location of the training camp near Lake Alans, where all the young dragons that died are buried. He tells her that he can use the remains of the dragons for some experiments. As he stares at the moon, he remarks how ironic it is that Ash named his dragon Echo, considering she is born as a descendant of Avalon. The next day, all the candidates head towards Lake Alun's for their training camp. Ash rides with Max, while Echo rides with Sylvia. After arriving at the camp, Rebecca explains that passing the training camp is crucial for the candidates' future achievements. Before starting the camp, everyone enjoys their time in the lake while Dr. Cornwell decides to do some research in the forest. At night, Ash goes out of his room while Anya watches his every move by lurking in the shadows. Ash finds Luca and Gawain by the lake. She's trying to make Gawain remember all the wonderful memories they shared, but Gawain refuses and stops her from getting close. Ash is frustrated and engages in a battle with Gawain, which results in him getting knocked out. Ash falls unconscious and is transported to the High Dragon workshop, where Navi explains that Gawain has an immature personality and that 3 months ago Luca was practicing a secret technique only known by the Bladians, but she fell off Gawain's back, making her unconsciously afraid of riding him. In her current state of mind, riding a dragon is quite dangerous, so to avoid any further accidents, Gawain keeps rejecting her. Gawain now only has 5 days left to live as he rejected his master continuously. Navi tells Ash that he is the only one who can restore their bond, Knight of Avalon. In the physical world, Anya decides to heal Ash to repay her debt to him. Ash wakes up in his room beside Luca and tells her everything. They both rush towards Gawain. Meanwhile, in the forest, Dr. Cornwell finds a hidden dragon chamber, where she finds a book called the Old Covenant. The book states that there were 2 families that came from the Wise Dragon Imbolc, the Scared Empire of Avalon and the Dark Kingdom of Nehelenia. Mildeus also arrives with Anya in the Hidden Dragon Chamber and tells Dr. Cornwell that her power isn't enough to fight him. He addresses her as Anne, and she remembers Prince Julius, as he was the only one who called her that. In the dorms, Luca rushes into Ash's room while crying, calling out Gawain's name. Luca storms into the room when the rest of the group is gathered and urgently reports that Gawain is missing. Concerned and confused, they listen as Rebecca shares a legend about a pal named Nuada and his former master, a young girl who had been gravely ill. Nuada had realized that the connection to astral flow was draining the life force of his master, and so he decided to sever his own connection, leading to his death and the miraculous healing of the young girl. Suddenly, Ash has a realization that Gawain is attempting to do the same thing with Luca. Despite Rebecca's suggestion to cancel the training camp after party and search for Gawain, Ash disagrees. He convinces the student council to continue with the party and assures Rebecca that he will handle the situation himself. Ash and his friends make their way to the Hidden Dragon Chambers, where they receive word from Sylvia that Dr. Angela is conducting research. Before they can proceed, the forest begins to shake violently. Mildeus summons all of the dead dragons in the mausoleum, sends his Necromancia minions to attack the students. As Rebecca leads the students in a counterattack, Ash asks Echo for the arch. Echo warns Ash that his body is still weak from his earlier fight with Gawain, but he insists. In the High Dragon workshop, Navi constructs a custom arch for Echo, with the condition that Echo must give an original arch in return someday. In the midst of the chaos, Mildeus summons the scared dragon Nuada. Sylvia and Lancelot put Nuada to rest, while Echo gives Ash the arch that Navi created. Though he sustains serious injuries in a fierce battle with Mildeus, Ash successfully uses the arch to defend himself. Seeing his power, Mildeus escapes in the shadows. Meanwhile, Rebecca fights valiantly against the Necromancia, but their regenerative abilities make her efforts futile. Luca realizes that she is the only one who can save them and jumps off a cliff with Ash. She calls out to Gawain to come and save her and confesses that she is no longer afraid of riding him. Using the astral flow, Luca heals Gawain and purifies the Necromancia and the surrounding area with the secret dragon dance's first movement, cleansing Armada. As Mildeus expresses his frustration to a mysterious blonde man, the man assures him that he will destroy the Lautréamont Knight Kingdom and the Chevron Kingdom at the Continental Congress. Finally, back at school, a messenger from the royal family brings a letter to Sylvia from her father, the Paladin. He requests that Sylvia and Echo accompany him to the Continental Congress. Sylvia obeys her father's commands and escorts Ash and Echo to the Continental Congress. During their journey, Sylvia informs them about the significance of the Congress, a gathering of the leaders of the 5 great nations that takes place every 5 years to decide the future of the Arcstrata continent. This year, the Lautréamont Kingdom has the honor of hosting the Congress in the capital city of Fontaine. Upon arrival at the palace, the group is warmly welcomed by the servants, and the head maid, Frida, informs Sylvia that the Paladin wishes to see her. While Ash and Echo are led to their room, Ash wonders about the tight security in the palace, and Frida explains that any misstep can lead to war with the other nations. In their room, they find Prim doing chores undressed, and Frida reprimands her and instructs her to dress appropriately. Meanwhile, Sylvia meets her father, who is thrilled to see her. She reprimands him for his childish behavior, but he pays her no mind. The paladin explains that Veronica invited Sylvia to the Congress and reveals that he invited Ash and Echo to pass the time and hear their stories. Sylvia asks about Prince Julius's execution, but the paladin insists that he was executed for killing his own pal, a heinous crime even for a prince. Sylvia suspects her father is lying and leaves the room. Prim takes Ash and Echo on a tour of the city, and they come across a statue commemorating the first paladin, Therum, who established the independent Lautréamont kingdom 500 years ago. While buying food, Echo notices Ash's jealousy towards a couple, and he explains that they are lovers. After seeing the couple, Echo allows Ash to hold her hand, and in the sky, Ash spots a giant magic ship with the crest of Wittershausen from the Imperial Zephyros Empire. Later, Ash and Echo attend the ceremony, where they meet the paladin, who expresses his gratitude to Ash for handling the Necromancia and Mausoleum situations. The paladin acknowledges Ash as a dragonar, a title typically bestowed upon those with a maestro like Lancelot, and reveals that Echo is special and cannot be compared to other dragons. At dinner, the paladin warns Ash not to lay a hand on Sylvia and threatens to kill him if he does. Meanwhile, Enya meets with Milgauz and the blonde man, who reveals his name to be Wittershausen Klaus. Klaus tells Enya about a boy who was founded in his domain, but Milgauz interrupts and tells Klaus to stop talking. He then shows Milgauz a magic device named Idrisil, which can forcefully awaken Echo's powers. In the morning, Sylvia confides in Veronica about her belief that the dragon attack at Mausoleum was caused by Julius's pal Mordred, and that Milgauz is their older brother, Julius. Veronica shares that she discovered Mordred's ashes were missing from the Mausoleum and cautions Sylvia not to share this information with anyone. Glenn is upset by the revelation that his old friend is alive and became an Imperial spy, but Veronica calms him down. Sylvia and Prim are getting ready for the masked ball in the evening while taking a bath together. Prim leaves to help Echo choose a dress, but Echo insists on having the best dress even though she is only going for the food. She wants to look better than Sylvia, who has been getting too friendly with Ash. Prim reminds her that Ash will eventually marry a human and have children, but this devastates Echo, and she storms out of the room in tears. Meanwhile, Sylvia visits Ash and tells him the truth about Milgauz. Ash comforts her and advises her to confront Milgauz directly. As Sylvia trembles in fear due to a sudden thunderstorm, she hugs Ash tightly and with Sylvia so close to him. He leans in to kiss her, but they are interrupted by Prim knocking on the door. Echo runs out of the palace crying and repeating Prim's words in her head. Prim follows her, but she tells her to stay back. Cosette instructs Ash to attend the ball as planned while the servants search for Echo. At the ball, Sylvia and Ash encounter Milgauz and Klaus. Ash confronts Milgauz, but he brushes him off. Outside the palace, Anya shoots Prim and takes Echo hostage. Sylvia and Ash learn of the situation, and Prim reveals what she said to Echo. Sylvia is enraged by Prim's carelessness and realizes that the only place Echo could be held is on Klaus's magic ship Beowulf. At the ship, Klaus's men attempt to force Echo to reveal her true dragon form by shooting her with concentrated mana, but she absorbs all the energy and destroys the device while revealing her inner dragon. As Echo's dragon form wreaks havoc on Beowulf, the maestros are all converging on her, since she is a royal dragon. Meanwhile, in the palace, Klaus is accusing the paladin of destroying his ship, causing panic and chaos as people run towards the exit. Princess Veronica and Glenn confront Milgauz, demanding that he remove his mask. He reveals himself to be Mordred, the other half of Julius's pal and the dark dragon of Nehelenia. Mordred explains that the two bloodlines of the wise dragon split in two and have been fighting ever since. Julius found out about Mordred's identity and killed him, but before he could succeed, Mordred took over Julius's body through the power of the astral flow. Mordred then leaves Julius's body and takes control of Echo. He goes to the High Dragon workshop to meet Navi and demands that she grant him great wisdom, but she refuses, stating that she supports the scared Imperial Princess of Avalon and the Knight of Avalon. In the physical world, Julius regains himself and explains the situation to everyone. He tells Ash that he is the only one who can save Echo. Julius blackmails Veronica to give him command over Sylvanus by threatening to reveal all her secrets hidden in her room. He also tells Ash that Mordred will not reincarnate in this world completely as long as Navi keeps resisting him. The Sylvanus cannot move any further as all the maestros are attacking it. Julius hands a parrot to Ash, stating that he is the only one who can save Echo. Echo is trapped in a bird cage located in an empty void. Navi tells her about the situation and shows her how Ash is trying to save her. Navi tells her to dedicate an arch for him, telling her that Ash is risking his life to save her and that she should do the same for him. In the real world, Ash climbs onto Echo's body but falls. Luca saves her with Gawain along with the rest of the student council. Ash then jumps on Echo's head, but Mordred attacks him while he is airborne. However, Echo uses her own original arch and gives it to Ash in time. He summons the holy sword Excalibur and defeats Mordred in a single blow. After the battle, Julius apologizes to Ash for all the troubles he has caused. In their room, Echo tells Ash that she wants their relationship to be different from other masters and pals.